What's going on, GoCo? On episode 387, CB and I talk about FOMO, or fear of missing out, and whether or not we succumb to the pressure and actually play games within a genre we know we don't like. In news, there's early rumblings of a sequel to Fallout New Vegas. We also review a European board game called Tales from the Loop, and you'll also hear impressions of some DLC for 30XX, an early preview for Batora Lost Haven, and Action Arcade Wrestling on Xbox. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 387 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Tuesday, March 1st. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me is my good friend, Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, CB?
Hello.
It's just you and I this week. Has this ever happened? Have we ever had an episode with just you and I?
I don't know, maybe.
That wasn't Patreon?
Yeah, I don't know.
This could be a first. Could be a first.
Just you and I dancing in the dark.
Unfortunately, Zach and Alyssa both were unavailable this week due to some personal things they're taking care of, so it will be just CB and I, man in the house, and I want to kick things off right away with CB and my, continued jealousy of the fact that he finished Horizon Forbidden West.
Aww. That's... Do I see a tear?
Yeah, a little, that's all I want to do is be playing Horizon, but, I can't play, for 13, 15 hours at a time like you can, so.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you right now, it's real good. Story just gets better.
Story gets really interesting. Obviously, I haven't finished it, but I have got to, there's a key moment where you get to a certain hub, which you know what I'm talking about. I'm kind of dancing around it. And at the beginning, you're going to three specific locations. I have completed one of those locations. So my game progression says that I am about 20% of the way through. I'm assuming that means 20% of everything, not 20% of the entire game.
Because I finished the main storyline. You know what percentage I am?
What?
44.
44. Okay. So here's the thing, and I want to know if you feel this way. I feel like the skill tree is absolutely worthless.
It is. It's junk.
Like I've almost maxed out the hunter skill tree, and I don't use any of it. I don't use any of the abilities. I don't do anything. Every once in a while, I fire off that thing where you put the war paint on and it makes your damage a little higher, your range damage. I use that once in a while, but I always forget it's there.
Well, because it's too complicated to use.
Yeah, like to use it's like
open wheel, press button, wait 5 seconds, then go.
Yeah, I'm really frustrated with just how complicated some of this stuff is. I mean, I guess it's there. It doesn't hurt because you don't have to use it. Thankfully, it's like you don't have to use this stuff. And I'm assuming you played the game, you've beat it. Can you just go through and play it like you played the last game? Like you're just kind of tearing off pieces and using fire and poison and stuff where you have to. So,
surprisingly, I don't even use fire and poison as much.
Really? Okay.
Yep. Just target those bits, man.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and I'm just giving you a piece of friendly advice. Spend some points in the machine hunter category.
Okay. Why is that?
Especially with the part where it's like be able to fire arrows while riding.
Oh, you can't do that now?
No.
That's so dumb. Like, Aloy can scale cliffs like,
I don't know if you can do it, but there's some points where it significantly increases. And there's a mount you're going to get later on that you're like, chef's kiss.
Okay. All right.
But man, I will tell you right now, the cliffhanger.
There's a cliffhanger at the end of this one too? Do not spoil anything. I'm looking at you right in the eye. Don't spoil anything. The fact that there
anything
is a cliffhanger feels like a spoiler to me right now.
I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, I'm going to say I wouldn't be surprised if there's a third game.
Okay. I mean, if there's a cliffhanger, that sounds like there would be a third game. What do you mean?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know how they're going to be able to pull it off yet.
Okay.
Because it's really cool.
Don't.
Speaking of other really cool things, I ran into guest voice actor.
So did I. Did you run into the same one I did?
Yeah.
Or did you realize it was the same one?
Well,
is it a secret? Is that a spoiler? Like,
I don't know, but
let's just leave it.
That character though is really cool.
I've only heard that character through audio logs to this point. I haven't actually met the character.
Okay, so
but
yes,
I've heard the voice, with the recordings that you find. So that was a fun surprise. Although, admittedly, I wasn't surprised because I was told, like on a tweet or something, which kind of sucked. But yeah, that story, they went a really interesting direction with that story. That I was not expecting, and boy, that's cool. That's a really cool idea. There's one area that I'm looking forward to visiting just to see what they do with it, because again, this takes place, in the real United States thousands of years later. So that's sounds exciting. But
I will still say I stand by my statement made the previous week, where unfortunately, Aloy just feels like the medium.
Yeah. I said that all along. Like, she just doesn't feel interesting at all.
No. And in my mind, it really doesn't improve.
That's a bummer.
So
I really liked Aloy in the first game.
Yes, but I will say a lot of the other character developments are fascinating. Okay. So
I really like the because you can take whichever branch you want to once you reach that certain area I talked about. And I took the lower level one. Does that tell you which one I went for?
Yeah. No, it tells me exactly which one you went for.
So that character that like you are like matched up with begrudgingly, I like that character a lot.
As much as you want to try to do the other ones, you will run into problems.
Yeah, I imagine.
Where it's like, oh, I thought you could be a little more freeform with this. Not as much as you think.
It's pretty gated. Okay. So you dug it.
Yeah. I think it's a phenomenal piece of work. Hey, and look, I finally had a reason to play my PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. What else? What else have you been playing?
Back into Dying Light 2 now. Like, now that I've knocked Horizon Forbidden West out of the way, at least the main story. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be platinuming that game.
Are you really? Did you platinum the last one?
No. But it's surprisingly it's easy to platinum Horizon Forbidden West. There's only one like truly missable trophy.
What's that?
Scanning all the robots.
Oh, because if you defeat certain ones, you can't, there's only one version of them type of thing?
There's specifically one that you'll run into near the end of the game that you have one shot to scan it, and that's it.
I feel like that's just an impulse for me, though, anyway. As soon as even if it's not a new robot, I just see a robot and I scan it just because some of the robots that are the same ones have different weaknesses. So that wouldn't be an issue for me.
It's not a traditional robot, I'll tell you that much.
Okay. So I am, it's just a massive world. And my frustration is the way I like to play these games is I like to get into an area and do everything I can in that area and then move on to the next area. That's how I've liked to do this game since one of the Assassin's Creed games. Remember those ones where they like put like a red something, like they highlight it as green once you've got that section completed and it just feels awesome? Yeah, you can't do that in Horizon Forbidden West because there are certain key items that you need in order to access things, so you're going to have to just go back and backtrack anyway. So might as well just wait until you have all of it and do it then. But that makes it not fun because that's part of for me, I like doing that because then I like walking into the end game feeling like a god and just kind of breezing through and enjoying the story.
Yeah. I will also say I don't like the fact that a lot of the stuff on the map can never be green.
What do you mean?
So like the robot sites. Mm-hmm. Like you can scan all the robots, it'll still stay white.
Oh, gotcha. It's like they don't understand our people like me's need to just
the completionist need.
Yeah, I like to just check things off. It drives me crazy, but
yeah. But so yeah, other than that, Dying Light 2, I'm back in full force.
Couldn't have finished that game first, huh?
It's a big game. It's a real big game.
I know.
But
I know.
I love both of them. But Dying Light 2, like I'm glad to be back to it.
There you go. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. First off, a couple new trailers. First one is a game called Gunborg Dark Matters. That game looks pretty interesting, actually. Comes out on March 4th on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. And also, CB should be interested. Tempest 4000 releases this spring on Switch and Atari VCS. Quite a few things to mention this week. First off, we got the March PlayStation Plus and games with gold freebies. Some rumblings about Fallout New Vegas 2 reportedly being in the works. There's a new game by Valve called Aperture Desk Job. Don't get too excited. It's not Portal 3. Super Smash Bros. Will not be at this year's EVO. Got several new games coming to Game Pass on Xbox, and Nintendo has added missions and rewards to Nintendo Switch Online. Quite a few things, and only two of us to discuss them this week. CB, where would you like to start?
Well, I'm gonna knock one out of the way really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout New Vegas 2. Cool. That's all I'm going to say, because it's way too far out. We knew at some point in time they'd be doing another Fallout side story.
Right. I'm going to be direct, though, and I'm going to say part of me is a little bummed that it is New Vegas 2. I understand as long as the missions are cool and all that kind of thing, but the fun of Vegas for me was that it was a new location. The fun of Boston was that it was a new location. I just kind of wish they were going to a new location.
I have a feeling that Fallout New Vegas 2 is basically just a name placeholder.
You think?
Yeah. Because you've already told so much. You've already told so much of the story of New Vegas that it feels dumb to go back.
What location would you like to go to?
Miami, Chicago, New Orleans.
Dude, I would be so excited for Chicago. Obviously, it's close to home for me, but
London,
New Orleans would be good.
Yeah.
Oh man, you could get into some of that Creole stuff.
Well, I mean, it's a perfect location for it because you could have like the swampy area, like the beach, some forested area.
I don't know. I like the city though, man. There's something about Fallout. Fallout just feels like it needs to be a city.
But I love having the city location, but then all those little side stories you can do, like out in the woods. Plus, what's a Fallout game without a little bit of urban mythology?
Sure, that would be good for that. I don't know. I still like the Northeast. I'd like to, or no, we had Anchorage already. There was an Anchorage one in Alaska.
Operation Anchorage.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. California just seems overdone.
Well, I mean, technically, we've never really done one in California.
We've never had a. No, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about in games in general.
Yeah,
like California's been done.
So yeah, a new location. I would actually love to see like a foreign soil location.
Yeah, because obviously this would have happened in other places besides the United States.
But like an allied location, like the UK. Mm-hmm. Just because of 1950s Fallout universe, like they're very isolationist. Mm-hmm. So any country that's not the US is like, ooh, bad guys.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, if you had to say, actually another really fun one would be Seattle.
There you go. I could get down on that. I just think that like Washington, D.C. was just so perfect because there were so many recognizable things that you just stumbled across. You know what I mean? And Boston is not as recognizable to me, but I still recognize some of it. There just weren't as many, you know what I mean? But I still felt like I was getting a mini history lesson in a fun way while I was doing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and see, you have to pick an old city. Mm-hmm. Like that was, I think one of the fun parts about Vegas was it was semi-new, but it still had a lot of older stuff to it. Like it felt like the old Vegas Strip.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, you definitely would have to pick a city that's been around since like mid 1800s.
I agree. Sounded like you were gonna squeeze two in there. What was the other story that intrigued you?
Clearly, the fact that Nintendo is getting it right now with missions and rewards. Man, finally.
Yeah. So players will be able to earn platinum points by playing the game and doing other things such as backup save data, play the NES, play a game that supports online play. You can do all these kind of tasks and earn some rewards. which then can they be turned in for physical rewards or online rewards available through the Nintendo Store. Somebody on the article I read did the math and found out you can earn something like 200 points per week if you do everything. And, so basically it would take you 2 weeks to get a physical item. The item that they talked about on the article I read was a cable
Keychain.
holder. It was a cable holder, like based on Pokemon. How do you pronounce it? Arceus? Arceus?
Arceus.
So a cable holder for 400 points. So it would take you 2 weeks to get a cable holder, but hey.
And see, I'm actually really excited about this because it harkens back to during the Wii and the DS era when you bought a new game. There was that little slip inside, where you could enter online to get Nintendo points, which is where things like the Game & Watch collection for DS came out.
Yep,
like the physical ones.
That's how I got the Zelda Picross game digitally on the 3DS, I believe it was.
Yeah, so the fact that Nintendo's finally bringing back like that reward system where you could get physical items.
Well, I mean, they've had the reward system for forever, but it was all based on, when you install a digital game or and they expire. That was always kind of a bummer. But do you remember like buying games from GameFly, and GameFly never did anything with the stuff inside, so you would always be able to cash in those points when you purchase it there?
I did a little something crappier than that. So
oh my, you worked at a game store, didn't you?
No, I did something even crappier than that.
What did you do?
2 words: Family Video.
You went through and like entered them in Family Video?
Oh, Family Video, when they put all the stuff out, they never took stuff out. So I went through and pulled like, ooh, the new Mario game came out this week, and they'd have like 40 or 50 copies. I'd be like, yoink, 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 yoink.
You could do all of them on the same game?
Yeah, because it's just a code.
Oh, you're a piece of crap, man.
Hey, shut up. I was doing things.
You really are, man.
But that was but the problem is like because it was always in the physical box.
Right. I understand how it works.
Family Video had the separate box that actually held the game, so you actually had to pick up the display box and open it up.
Right.
Do you remember how 360 used to have like, oh, for this game, get the exclusive in-game content?
Yeah.
Enter this code. All those were in there too. So I would actually take those and like hand them out to friends. But the Nintendo points, no, those were mine. I
don't know, man. That seems kind of sus, as the kids would say.
Hey, gotta get there early, man. I wasn't the only one doing it, okay? Because I learned about it from someone else.
Yeah. I think we should talk about the games coming to Game Pass, just simply because of the huge one right at the top of the list there. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Cloud Console and PC on March 10th.
Yeah, that's nothing like another free Sony game. Well,
Sony,
not Sony, Square Enix. Well, they made MLB The Show free,
right?
Last year. Now we get Guardians of the Galaxy free.
But it's just nuts.
But it does feel bad over the fact that this game is coming free off the back of Square Enix saying like it's another failure.
I don't understand that. That game is really good.
It's really good, but it didn't hit the sales projection numbers that Square wanted.
Yeah.
So they've already labeled it a failure, and that's why you can get it now brand new, like for $30.
Yep. Also coming, Far Changing Tides, coming to Cloud Console and PC March 1st. Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming to the cloud.
Yeah.
Actually, it's today. That's nuts.
That's a lot of data, man.
I know.
Like, that's a stupid amount of data.
That's crazy. Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, coming to Cloud Console and PC on the 3rd. Kentucky Route Zero, Cloud Console and PC on the 10th. That's one that I've heard people talk about. I do not understand it, and I've had people try to explain it to me, and I still don't understand it, so I feel like I kind of have to just experience it. But
yeah. The next one you can skip right over.
Lawn Mowing Simulator. I thought that was already on Game Pass. Was it just the Series X?
It was just the Series.
Consoles? Okay.
Yeah, just the Series consoles.
Yeah, that's worth a download, guys. It's a very relaxing game. And a game called Young Souls coming to Cloud Console and PC on March 10th. And since you got a second one, I'm going to take a second one as well. Boy, I don't even know which one. Let's talk about this thing with Valve. I haven't played it yet, but Aperture Desk Job. It's labeled as a playable short, but it puts you in the desk of someone at Aperture Science. It's designed for the Steam Deck, so it releases today. Does the Steam Deck come out today?
Yeah, I've already
Holy
seen
cow.
them in person.
Have you really? Who has one?
One of my friends, like, he got his pre-order yesterday.
He got his pre-order yesterday and he got it today? That doesn't make any sense.
No. He got it yesterday, but I saw it today.
Oh, you mean, so he was in the first batch? I thought you were saying he pre-ordered it yesterday.
No,
so
he was in the first batch, so
Okay,
he got his
gotcha.
yesterday, and I actually saw it today.
Gotcha. So I'm in the second batch, so I will hopefully get one by then. But anyway, this released today, as of this recording, the same day that the Steam Deck released. Now, what's interesting to me is the game can be played on PC, but does not have mouse and keyboard support. You have to play it with a controller if you play it on PC, which I thought was interesting. So,
Yeah.
but hey, it's free. I will,
I just
probably
wish
play it.
Valve would stop doing this. Just give us Half-Life 3, Portal 3, Team Fortress 3, and all the rest of the threes.
You know what would be like the most baller move ever? Like at E3, they just announce them all at the same time. Here's Half-Life 3. Here's Portal 3. Here's Team Fortress 3.
All these threes, but it's Orange Box 2.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
God, it'll never happen.
I know, but wouldn't it be cool?
This is now like the second, like outside of the Half-Life 2 episode 1 and 2, this is actually like the third Aperture Science game that's not Portal or Half-Life.
Right.
Because it was the VR one, which was like this little lab physics simulator that I played on the HTC Vive. Portal Bridge Constructor.
Yeah.
And now Aperture Desk Job. So they keep skirting around it.
Plus, there
it's
was
just
Portal Pinball. There was a Portal Pinball table on Pinball FX.
Yeah. And so it's just like, at what point in time do you just stop screwing around and just make the dang game?
Everybody wants it, and they would sell like crazy.
Yeah. Like, I'll tell you right now, if Valve made Portal 3 or Half-Life 3, the pre-orders would be one of the highest things ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it would sell, they could be like, it's going to be $110.
Yep.
And we would all be like, oh, sure, take my money.
Yep.
I don't care. Like, just give me the damn game.
No, I could see them doing like a pack of all three for $200. $250.
It'd still sell.
It would sell.
Yeah.
It would absolutely sell. All right. Well, that's all we're going to cover for news right now. I want to remind everybody about our Patreon. If you'd like to throw us a couple bucks here and there to help us keep the show going, we really do appreciate it. And we'll give back to you in a big way. We've got a couple different tiers for you. If you'd like to contribute at the $3 level, you'll get one bonus episode each month. And if you pay at the $5 tier, you get 2 bonus episodes each month. And I promise you, these episodes are coming. CB's going to talk to you about 4 episodes. The first 3 are recorded. We're just waiting for them to go through the pipeline. And we'll have all 4 of them for you in the very near future. CB, what can people count on?
Well, there's Desert Island Games with Stoy from the EXP cast, our Retro Outsider episode on Star Fox Dinosaur Planet, also known as Star Fox Adventures for you out there. Spoiler cast on the Uncharted movie. And
that was a fun episode.
I'm still mad I haven't seen it yet. And our Break the Seal on the Halo series. So, man, it's a lot of content.
There's a lot of content. And if you'd like to contribute, help us out over at patreon.com/thegocast. We really do appreciate everybody that is out there showing us some love and helping us keep this show going. And as a reminder, we don't keep any of the funds for ourselves. Yes, I purchased Horizon Forbidden West to review for the show, but we are giving it away to a listener, and congrats to CJ Moore, who won that copy, and will be getting it as soon as I finish the game, which hopefully will be here in the next week or so. Although he hasn't finished the first one, so he said he's not in a rush, but want to get it out to him as soon as possible. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the new games that we've been playing. All right, got some new titles to talk about. First off, right out the gate, Puzzle Quest 3. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Available on PC and iOS today, March 1st. Got a game called Far Changing Tides. Talked about it. Was that the one I talked about on Xbox just a minute ago?
Yep. For free
It's
day one.
on Game Pass, but also PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Shadow Warrior 3, PS4, Xbox One, and PC today. Conan Chop Chop, which sounds like a game I would not put on this list to talk about, but I watched that trailer, and that looks like a game that we need to play together. It looks like a party roguelike game, like a couch cooperative party roguelike game. Coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Elix 2. That was the sequel to the game that Zach
loves
gave
so much.
the lowest score he's ever given on our site. Available on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC today. 35mm. It's a port of a PC. Would we call it a walking simulator?
Yeah.
CB?
Horror walking simulator.
Horror walking simulator. Horror. Coming to PS4, Xbox, and Switch on the 2nd. Musical Story. Going back to the music of the 70s. Looks kind of interesting. PlayStation on March 2nd, Switch on March 3rd, and PC on March 4th. It's always confusing to me when those games come out on different platforms on different days.
Yeah.
Beholder 3, PC on March 3rd. Babylon's Fall, PlayStation and PC March 3rd. What Lies in the Multiverse on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 4th. Gran Turismo 7. Yes, they're still making Gran Turismo games on PlayStation March 4th. Legend of Ixtona. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. On Xbox and PC March 4th. That looks like a Zach Parkerson game if there ever was one. Gunborg Dark Matters. Xbox One, PS4, Switch, PC March 4th. And Triangle Strategy, which looks like Final Fantasy Tactics Reborn, as it were, coming to Switch March 4th. CB, any of these titles you plan on picking up this week?
Oh, that Shadow Warrior 3.
Yeah?
I mean,
did not play
dude,
the first three. Wait, is that the one that was like known for like all the swearing and stuff like that?
it's Duke Nukem meets like Samurai Warriors.
Okay. All right.
The main character's name is Lo Wang.
Are you serious?
Dead serious, man.
Oh,
And it's
my
just
God.
nothing but stupid potty humor.
That's
like,
hilarious.
It feels like playing a Duke Nukem game, but without John's voice.
Okay. All right. Well, no wonder there's 3 of them then, I guess.
And they are fun.
Yeah. For me, Puzzle Quest 3. I've already downloaded it. I was super excited. And then I went to purchase it. And what do you know? It's not a purchasable game on phone. It is a free-to-play game, which makes me really angry because just like if they had thrown like $15 on that, I would have paid $15
How
for that.
sad is that, though? That like it's a free game and it makes you mad.
I know.
Because you know it's coming with ads like every other turn.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it'll be a thing where like they want to get you in and then say, hey, you can purchase the full game. I'm hoping that's what it is because I'll gladly pay 10. I would pay $15 for a Puzzle Quest 3 if it's what I hope it is. But
Or it'll be something stupid like 99 cents a month for no ads.
you know what? I would do that. 99 cents a month. Just cancel it after 3 months. Sold. I have no problem putting a thing on my calendar that reminds me to cancel it in 2 months or whatever, if it's that good.
Yeah. But it's sad, though. The fact that we know how annoying the ads are, that we will go out of our way to just pay money to not deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But let's go ahead and talk about a new game that we've been playing. Not a video game, actually, but we were given a review copy of a board game of all things. I don't even know if calling it a board game is the right way. We should be calling it a tabletop game.
It is a board game. It does come with a board.
Yeah, okay. So it's a board game. The game is called Tales from the Loop. This is based on some artwork by a artist whose name I forgot to write down, but I think it's known more to some of us by the television show that's on Amazon Prime, which I have yet to watch. But after playing this game, I'm really intrigued to watch the show because this world is really interesting. What do you think about the motif of this one?
I love the world because it's basically the 80s that never was.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's very obviously taking place in the 80s because a lot of the cards reference things from the 80s. Like there's an item I got that is Optimus Prime, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I got a Walkman.
Yeah, it's all kinds of 80s stuff. We are, I feel like they're going for the Stranger Things vibe. Like they're, you know what I mean? Like where, kids banding together.
The artwork of the TV show, I believe, were before Stranger Things.
Oh, really?
I think the artwork was, at least.
I think the TV show is only like 2 or 3 years old, so Stranger Things has been around for longer than that. But
yeah, it's definitely in the same thread.
Mm-hmm.
I love the world building. It absolutely fascinates me.
Yeah, it's like you said, 80s it never was, but there are gigantic faceless robots just roaming around that may or may not be friendly. I don't know. I want to learn about it and see what this is. But
yeah, that being said, things.
Well, we'll get into the gameplay, because what intrigued us to play it is that this is a straight co-op game. And our group, I got our D&D group together to play this game for a couple weeks. And we were stoked because we're used to playing co-op, playing D&D, but I've never played a co-op board game outside of D&D, so I was looking forward to this. And the way this game works is that each of you are one of the kids, and you basically, or the catch to this game, or the what's the word I'm looking for? The novelty system, the hook, is that you don't know how to win the game when you start it. Did you like that concept when we first picked it up?
I love that concept because I've played other games that have done similar things.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't. This is the first time I had played something like that. So
yeah, see, this is something new for you, like a cooperative board game, where you're all working together against for a common goal or against a common enemy. Mm-hmm. For me, I've played games like this before, and they do that very well in this game. I will give them that.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the fact that they do have multiple stories that each time plays differently. But yes, when you start them, you don't know the win condition.
The win condition, yes. So the way the story unfolds is there's like a stack of cards that you start in a specific order basing on which scenario that you choose to start with. We chose with the beginner one, or whatever you want to call it.
Bots Amok.
Bots Amok, yep. And you start there, and you learn what you have to do in order to win the game. What, about 2/3 of the way through it?
Yeah,
does that sound about right? That's when you learn what you have to do to win. And I love that idea, just like because it becomes about the story of the game. Like you're learning about what happens as you go through, and this happens, and this makes this happen, and you have to keep on top of things in order to learn what you have to do to win, and then you actually have to complete those tasks to win it, which is a great concept. The problem that we noticed is the complexity of this game.
The game gets in its own way.
It really does. And to be clear, this game came from Europe, and I don't know how many times I said this while we were playing it, but I can't help but wonder if this is a thing with me being used to American board games. I know you play European stuff a lot more than I do, but getting in the way of itself just is a great way to say it. I feel like this would work on a digital format so much better, because there are so many moving pieces happening at the same time that you have to keep track of, that in order to do one turn, it probably took us like 45 minutes. Now, granted, this is the first time we played it. It probably would go smoother as you go, but there's just tiny little things that you have to keep track of, which becomes tedious and takes away from the story, which I think is really good.
Yes. I will say it's not the most complicated game I've ever played, but it's close.
Okay.
But yeah, there's too many moving pieces. So like, not only do you have to keep track of the characters, the bot movements. There's so many different decks of cards that have abilities and functions that are required to play. You have the rumor cards, the school day deck, the diary deck.
And the cards aren't marked, by the way. There's no words on them that tell you that these are the rumor cards.
Some of them were,
yes.
Some of them were not. And I do feel that is a problem with this, because like the school deck, clearly marked. The rumor deck, not clearly marked.
Right.
Items and anomalies, clearly marked. The diary deck, not clearly marked.
Right. But they're all in one stack when you open up the package, which is...
Yes. So, yes, that does get a little annoying. The character boards, they're very well put together.
Mm-hmm.
They have the option for like 2 to 3 player games, 4 to 5 player games, or if you just want to play solo, they have that on those the player boards as well. Where I start to take issue with this is you put so much time and effort into this board. Like it looks gorgeous, it's high quality, but you make miniatures for the robots.
Like actual 3D printed models.
Yes, they look great.
Mm-hmm.
But then for the characters, you have simple cardboard cutouts
that are not anywhere near to scale to the robots.
No, they're bigger than the robots. Some of these robots are supposed to be like 20, 30, 40 feet tall.
And my little character towers over it.
Yeah.
Plus, we only had 5 players in our team. It can go up to like 6, right?
Yep, it can go up to 6.
And we struggled to get all of our characters into one square at the same time.
Well, especially when all the characters start each day at the same location.
Right, same location. So the way this game works is you start at the same location, except for on the weekends, you get to start at your home.
Yeah, you start at school.
You start at school. And I think this is the fun part, was us kind of like assigning each other tasks. Like, I'll go over here to get this thing uncovered. I'll go over here to get this uncovered. Well, because your goal, you kind of want to go back home, not to school, but to your home. Each character lives in a specific place in order to win favor with your parents, because you don't want to get grounded, which, basically gives you negative status effects, which is a fun concept. I like that. So the strategizing is that the right word? Strategizing, yeah. The strategy was really fun to be like, I'm going to go over here to try to get this rumor taken care of, get this rumor, and if you win that rumor, you get some, added benefits. If you lose it, bad things happen. That's fun. It's just that there's so many things to what's the word? To manage.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't even talk about the chores.
Right. Yeah, everybody has their own little chores that they're supposed to try to do. Like, I think Nate had one that was, don't go home.
Yeah, don't go home.
Right.
So it's just, the problem is there's too many things to be doing,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have enough of an ability to do them all in the same day.
Right. Like, I would like this to be a digital thing where we sit in front of a screen and, make our decisions and talk about the map and do this, and then let the game do the meta stuff behind. You know what I mean? Like there is dice rolling, but and you know me, I love dice rolling.
And I feel the dice rolling was a little too complicated for how this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that irritated me the most, we've played similar European style board games before,
mm-hmm.
Moneymaker.
Yeah.
And we actually went online, and they have a how to play tutorial.
Right.
And so we watched that, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting the gist here. When you go to this one, the board that they're playing on is different than the board that was sent.
Right.
So we're playing on the finalized version of the board, but the video that they made to show everybody how to play was like, I'm guessing like an alpha or a beta build board.
Mm-hmm.
So the board even looked different.
Right.
So when you're trying to explain how to do things on the board, and I'm like, your video is different than the board that I'm playing on.
Right.
So it makes it like, not only do you have this super complex and complicated game, which to me is still fun to play. Mm-hmm. It's very complicated. It takes some time. Like playing this is not a type of game that you would pull out for a bunch of brand new players.
Right.
Like go and buy brand new off the shelf, take home, be like, hey, everybody, let's play this tonight. It's too complicated.
To be fair, it's not trying to do that. Right?
No.
This is for hardcore board game enthusiasts that really want to. I mean, it says in the box it takes like 3 hours to play one game. I think between the 2 sessions, we probably put in about 6 hours, and you know what I mean, and that still wasn't enough. We're still finishing it, so
yeah. And but don't get me wrong, like it's a fun game to play, but this is definitely a game that's geared towards people that love and like pretty much only play board games.
Mm-hmm. Also, were the instructions just very complicated? It wasn't structured in a way that made sense.
I feel that's just a lost in translation issue.
I hope so.
Because I'm willing to bet these were not printed in English first, because we did find a few grammatical and spelling errors.
Right.
On
which is
cards.
Not that big a deal.
Yeah, which is not that big a deal, especially when you have something this complex.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're reading it, it's just like, this feels like if it was in its original language, it would have been just fine.
Right.
And on top of that, the entire board is like in Sweden. So like all the names of the cities and everything like that
was
fun. Swedish locations, which I appreciate it. Like I said, everything about this game, I love the aesthetic. I like the play, but it definitely feels like you need a very strong group of dedicated board game players to successfully navigate this game to how it's intended. And I'm not trying to fault like anybody in our group, but it's just for like the style of game this is. It's a little complex for a brand new pick up and play. Like it almost feels like everybody should have had their own set of instructions that like should have been mailed to you a week before we play.
Right. Just to like learn the game and get into it. But
because it is a hefty boy. And
that's my bad. I did not realize this was going to be that kind of game when I scheduled this game night with you guys. But I feel like I'm more intrigued than most of the people in our group. I like the concept. I wanted to play the game instead of constantly messing with mechanics. Like I felt like maybe it's just the video game guy in me that wants this stuff to be all digital somehow. I want a computer to manage this stuff so that I can enjoy the fun parts of the game, because there are parts of the game that were fun to me. Yeah. But the way you said at the top, it just kind of gets in its own way. And on the bright side, it's intrigued me to watch the show. I will be watching the show because I had never even heard of it until we got this press release. Now I watched the trailer and I'm like, I need to watch this show, and I've heard good things. So, so that is. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's definitely a game that I don't want to give up on.
Right,
but it seems like it would be like I just have to find that perfect group to play this with a very elongated play session. Because it definitely feels like if you're only dedicating like 3 hours to this, or like a shortened period of time to play, and then you're like, okay, pause, we'll come back to this on another day.
Right.
There's just too many moving parts that you can forget.
Yep.
So
I agree. So that is Tales from the Loop. If that sounds interesting to you and you're up for the challenge, I'm not going to not recommend it. I do recommend it if you've got the right group and you've got the patience. But I just still think that this game would benefit from a digital platform.
I will say, if you are a board game enthusiast, give it a whirl, because it's a fun little complex game.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for humoring us to talk about a board game. We do have some video games to talk about as well. I sat down with Rel and Chris Owens, who came back. Haven't talked to him in quite a while. So I got a few games that they reviewed for us, and I am eager for you to hear them. You can hear those right now. Well, hello there, Rel. How you doing, man?
I would be doing better without the technical issues.
Oh, yeah. It's been quite an adventure getting this segment of the podcast recorded, but I appreciate you suffering through the patience and coming here to talk to us about a couple games, actually, this week. The first is some DLC content for a game that you reviewed for us in the past called 30XX on PC. You got your hands on the new level that's called WaterGrave. This, again, comes from developer Battery Staple and was provided to us by Stride PR. Now, you were a fan of 30XX, right?
Well, yeah, still a fan. So this isn't actually DLC. It's more just because it's still in early access. They're just adding more to the game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, I've been a longtime fan of like 20XX and 30XX being the sequel. Of course, I was up for that. I mean, it's basically Mega Man X roguelike with online co-op.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love? I mean, I'm not saying that sarcastically. That sounds amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is.
So what's this WaterGrave level all about? I assume there's water and gravity somehow involved.
They literally are both involved.
Okay.
So the first time I played this level, it was on like a higher difficulty because they have an option to either do like a regular run where you just go through each level in sequence and the levels are randomly chosen, so you may be able to use the boss weapons against a future boss or not. Or you can do Mega Mode, where it's essentially like the boss rush in every single Mega Man game. You can just choose which level you want to go to. And so, obviously I jumped straight into WaterGrave because I'm trying to review it. And it was on the highest difficulty, and I couldn't get past the first room.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was not prepared. Fortunately, you can just, start a new Mega Mode game and reshuffle the difficulty levels. So the level is fairly challenging even on the easiest setting just because of the enemies involved, but the basic gimmick behind this level is that you flip switches to basically flip water up and down, which unlocks certain areas. Like basically an area might be blocked off when it's dry, and then when the water gets flipped up to the ceiling, the area opens up and you can proceed through it. And it uses various other gimmicks like something like from Gravity Man's level in Mega Man 5, where you walk into a field that's pointing upward and you just go up to the ceiling, and then it's downfield, sends you back to the floor. And my only complaint, I guess, and suggestion to the devs is I thought the water stuff was kind of inconsequential. Like, you flip a switch and it opens a path. Like, okay, fine. I would have liked to have seen more use of gravity, flying up and down to the ceiling and back down to the floor. Sort of along the lines of VVVVVV, or however many V's are in that.
I think there's 6. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah. But yeah, I was looking forward to hopefully a little bit more gravity shenanigans, but it was more focused on water, or at least in the iterations that I got. Since it is a roguelike, the levels are randomly generated every time you play.
Right. Now, you mentioned it opens up these areas, and I haven't played the game, so forgive my ignorance, but when you say stuff like that, it reminds me of the old Mega Man X games where you're, uncovering these hidden locations to get upgrades and that kind of thing. Is that what we're doing here?
Potentially, yes. It might also be a case where you're just like moving the water up so that you can get through an otherwise blocked off section in order to just proceed through the regular level. But you can also unlock access to item chests or to a teleporter that leads to a glory zone, which is basically a challenge level where you either have to, kill enemies while taking a minimum amount of damage, get through a challenging section in a reasonable time frame, and then kill a mini boss. But overall, I think, like I said, it's mostly just to get through to the next part of the level.
Okay.
But you can find those little hidden bonuses. It just depends on how the RNG shakes out.
Gotcha. So how does it fit into the rest of the game in terms of playing the overall? Because you said it's just another level, right? That's like randomly selected for you on certain modes?
Yeah, because the way that the game works overall is, you start a run, first level is randomly chosen, you go to the next level, and you can eventually unlock the ability to choose between a couple of different levels, but otherwise in the beginning you're locked into whatever RNG has decided that you're going to do. So you might go to the woods level first, and then the foundry level next, and I'm kind of making these up because I forget all the level types. And then like WaterGrave third, or WaterGrave could be 7th, and you could have one of the hardest levels in the game as one of your last levels.
Gotcha.
It just depends on how the run shakes out.
All right, so it feels weird to ask you if you recommend it because it's not really extra content. I mean, it is extra content, but it's it's still an early access game. So like overall, you still recommend people check out 30XX?
I mean, if you're a fan of 20XX, yeah, obviously. If you're a fan of Mega Man X, and you haven't played 20XX, I guess I would recommend getting that and playing that until 30XX is a little bit closer to completion, because it is still in early access, and it is mostly there as a game, but it's not like all there, if you know what I mean.
Right.
It's it's like Rogue Legacy, where or Rogue Legacy 2, I should say, where they're still adding in the final levels of content. And so right now you're getting maybe 75, 80% of what's probably going to be the final game.
Gotcha. You still sold me on it. I mean, just watching the trailer, it looks straight up Mega Man X roguelike, which is what it's
really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, while you're here, I also want to talk to you about this other game that you've been checking out called Batora Lost Haven. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is just a preview build. This is not, you didn't get to play the full game, correct?
Correct. This was like a hour to 90 minutes, depending on how much you want to like look around, and there's not that much to see. Just a brief preview of the game, the combat systems, the puzzle systems, the leveling, and the types of equipment that you can get. And so it unlike 30XX, it very obviously had issues, and I want to talk about them so that hopefully the devs will listen to this and learn from it.
Okay. That dev being Stormine Games, by the way.
Yes, I actually wrote an impression for you on Discord and then forgot to save it in Word. But this Discord saves everything. So I should preface this by saying that I don't know what their plans are for the completed game, because it could be that I'm about to say a bunch of stuff and they're going to say, well, that's just the preview build. What we actually have planned for the game is, A, B, and C. And you're talking about X, Y, and Z, which is going to get changed. And, that's fine.
Right. I'm curious.
I'm just going to go off of my notes. So the story, as it stands, because again, it's a preview build. It's not even, 2 hours long. The story is not very good because it opens with, and again, this is preview, but it opens with a narrator expositing about, what's going on, and then talking about how Avril, the main character, is the chosen one, and then remarks that, why are you the chosen one again? And it's like the game doesn't even know, so why should we know, and why should we care? And the person who's narrating this is supposedly one of the most powerful beings in the universe, so why doesn't she know? I mean, it feels like they were going for a sort of a tongue-in-cheek type of thing where, they're sort of spoofing the chosen one trope where, you're the chosen one. Why are you the chosen one? Yeah, who knows? Go on an adventure.
Wow, I did not get that impression at all from the trailer.
Yeah, and the rest of the game doesn't really lean into that, so it makes me hopeful that they are just doing that as a placeholder, and they're going to expand the story a little bit more later on, especially because you're just dropped in the middle of it. Like, supposedly in the past, Earth was destroyed, and what was left of humanity traveled to this alien planet. Okay, what happened? Why was humanity destroyed? How did we get here? None of this is explained. Avril is the chosen one. Go do stuff.
Chosen one for what?
It's just... I mean, I'm pretty sure that they said something about it, but I mean, even the game doesn't know why she's the chosen one, so... Again, why should I care?
and just to reiterate, this is not even an early access build. This is like a preview build that you got to play.
Right.
So this is very, very early.
Right. That's why I preface this by saying I don't know what the devs have planned for the finished product.
Right.
They might just completely change the opening entirely, so you're not dropped in media res on an alien planet with no idea what anything is or who anyone is. They might change it so that it starts on Earth and shows us what happened and all that, rather than expositing in the beginning, like, a Star Wars crawl that is telling us, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi been taken aboard the Death Star, and that's where the movie starts. Yeah, it was that kind of thing.
Well, how does the game play? What kind of game is it?
So it is, I want to say Diablo, but not really. Like, it's that sort of combat style.
Mm-hmm.
But I had issues with the combat as well. I should also mention before that, again, this is early, like not even early access, but even on a 1070, which should be able to handle a game that was this level of like graphical fidelity, there was a ton of screen tearing, and my fans were running at full blast, and I had the graphic settings turned down to medium, and it should not have been working that hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so unoptimized, but again, preview build, understandable. As fine as the combat goes, it does feel pretty basic because right now, at least, all they have is basic sword attack, basic projectile attack, dodge roll, dodge teleport, which is effectively the same thing, super attack with the sword, super attack with the projectile. And I separate those because you actively switch between physical and mental powers in this game, and it's used in kind of an Ikaruga sense where you want to target purple mind enemies with your mind projectile powers and orange physical enemies with the orange sword attack.
Gotcha. Okay. Little binary situation.
Yeah, and there is actually a like you can attack the purple mind enemies with physical attacks. And there is actually a point to it because it builds up a meter that, again, in the preview build wasn't really utilized all that much because you get it at like minute 45 of 60. But again, it's pretty basic. And I think they really need to change it such that you don't have to switch between the two types of attack, because you have to actively switch between them. Like you hit a button and it changes you from physical to mental. The thing is, you don't use the same buttons. Like, you use the right stick to aim and fire the projectiles, and you can use the face buttons to use the melee attacks.
All right.
So what I would love to see changed is you don't actively switch between the two. You just use the right stick to fire projectiles, or you use the face buttons to swing the sword. Because while they do utilize the different types of attacks, it doesn't feel like actively switching between them, at least in this preview build, is necessary. And it just feels overly complicated, especially since this is more of an action-oriented combat system.
Right. Yeah, it's
like it doesn't feel like you're getting any benefit from it.
In order to switch between the two different types of attacks, you have to actually have to physically press a button.
Right.
I want to make sure I understand this right. And what you would rather is that just the stick be one of them and the face buttons be another, and that's how you switch.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's like you actively switch an aura currently, and I would rather there's no aura, and you just can actively either fire a projectile or swing a sword or whatever, or both.
That's a cool concept too, because I don't feel like I've played a game like that. Because, just to be able to just switch back and forth, just move the thumb, and then you're doing a different type of attack. Makes sense. Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's something that needs you to press a button to switch between the two. I feel like you can just, there's enough real estate on the controller to accommodate both.
Right.
So last thing that I want to talk about is the morality choices that they put into this. They were done pretty badly. You have two major choices in this game. Let's say three. The first is this spirit thing was tricked by what is going to be the primary antagonist of the game and accidentally did a bad thing because he was tricked.
Right.
Do you A, murder him, or B, let him live?
I mean, why would you let the primary antagonist live?
No. He's not. No. You're not choosing between the primary antagonist. You're choosing between a dude that the primary antagonist is tricked.
Oh, well, why would you kill him then? He was tricked. He didn't do anything maliciously.
Exactly. So it feels like, you can kick the puppy or give him a good home. Like, why would you choose the bad choice?
I think you're underestimating our society as a whole, man.
Oh no, I know some people would choose it just to, go full renegade, except this isn't even renegade. It's just dark side from KOTOR when there's no real reason to do it other than I'm dark side and I'm mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Second major choice was some minor antagonist has kidnapped someone and is saying, you have to get me this MacGuffin or I'm going to kill the hostage. Okay. And then you find out that the MacGuffin that he wants is preventing a tribe of people from going berserk and killing. And so it's like, do you let them go berserk and possibly cause rampant death? Or do you take the MacGuffin and exchange it for the hostage with a bad guy who might just kill the hostage anyway?
Yeah. That's a moral quandary. That one seems a little bit more gray than the other. They're both bad choices.
Well, I personally, the way I reacted to it was, why would I take the MacGuffin and make an entire group of people suffer when I don't know this bad guy. I don't know if he can be trusted to actually do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I bring the thing and he kills the hostage anyway. I don't know. That tends to be how it goes with video games. Now, granted, he did end up killing the hostage because I didn't give him the MacGuffin, but still.
Did you try it the other way to see what would happen, or?
No, I really it wasn't feeling the game. It wasn't that. It wasn't fun enough.
So it doesn't sound like you've enjoyed a whole lot of what you played. Are you hopeful? Do you think you'll dig it if they make some of these changes you're talking about?
Well, that's the thing. There was so little to experience, and so much of it was either a technical headache with the graphics, because there was a ton of screen tearing as well that I don't think I mentioned, or it just didn't appeal because it didn't feel like the choices were nuanced enough. Because, I think about Mass Effect, for example. The choice there wasn't be a complete a-hole or be a good guy.
Right.
It was more, or with Mass Effect, it was more like, do you want to be the rogue cop that is going to get the job done no matter what anybody else says? And if you have to be rude to people to do it, then so be it. And if you have to gun down somebody to do it, then so be it, because you're that kind of loose cannon. Or do you want to be strictly by the book? I thought that was a fantastic morality system, Mass Effect 3 ending aside. Whereas, again, this is more like KOTOR, where the choice is between, do you want to be strictly good or do you want to kick puppies?
Right. Which,
I'm just...
You're just either picking one or the other for the whole game.
Yeah.
Right? You're not really... I mean, I guess you could play it where you do every other or something like that and then just wind up right in the middle, but... I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I always prefer the shades of gray when it comes to decision making. Yeah.
Part of the other problem that I had with it was that no matter what you pick, it gave the impression that no matter what you pick, someone's gonna verbally abuse you for making that choice,
which is stressful because that's what I deal with that in real life, right?
Yeah.
Where no matter what decision I make, somebody's going to be mad at me. I don't want to do that in a video game that's supposed to be escape, but I haven't played the game, so I can't. I'm not judging it, but
I guess overall, I am hopeful that it can be good because there are the bones there for a good game. It's just that the impression that I got from the intro that they provided is that they haven't really got a coherent story yet.
Right.
And there are a lot of promising systems that are not fully realized at all. So I would love to see where this game is in 6 months or a year, for instance.
All right. Again, that is Batora Lost Haven. I'm going to keep my eye on this one because I'm really intrigued to see what the final product looks like. And see what some other people are saying about it as well. So, again, that one was provided to us by Team 17. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to check that one out. But Rel, thank you so much for once again stopping by to talk to us about 30XX and Batora Lost Haven. It's always a good time to chat with you, man. Hopefully you're playing some other games that you like. But
oh my god, right now I've been into Risk of Rain 2. It is so good.
That's another one I need to try. That's another, it's roguelike, right?
Yep, and it's real good.
Yeah, I need to check that one out. All right, man. Well, we'll check out for now, but we'll see you next time, all right?
All right, later.
I'm here with Chris Owens. Man, it's been a long time since we talked to you on this show. How you been?
Well, you finally dusted me off, Scott, so I'm honored to be here and that you would do that.
There you go, man.
You did miss a couple spots. I'm going to shake it off.
There you go, man. Well, you're here to talk to us about a game called Action Arcade Wrestling. This comes from developer Vico Game Studio and was provided to us by Reverb Incorporated, so thanks to that team for hooking us up. I got to admit, when I saw this trailer, I got some flashbacks from like WWF games in the arcade when I was a kid. Tell me that I'm going to be able to relive some of that magic with this.
A little bit, a very, very little bit. This has that kind of action. It has that arcade action that we remember from when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
It has all the classic wrestling moves. It has all the spread of characters that, depending on the character, depends on the kind of moves you can pull off. There's even some, I guess, powers from beyond, if you will, if you know what I mean, when you pick your character and see what they can do. But it has all the rope snapping action. It has all the top rope stuff. It has quite a few game modes that you'd be able to do that with. So it does kind of give you that nostalgia, but unfortunately, it's not long standing in that area.
What do you mean not long standing?
Well, in the arcade versions, I remember from arcades past that you can fight through a series of wrestlers, and the opponents get tougher, and you get to the championship match, and you get to the big stars that you fight for the title belts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the status quo for wrestling games. Here, it's not the case, unfortunately. There's one-on-one, there's tags, there's fatal four-ways when it's 4 wrestlers at once, there's battle royals, there's Royal Rumbles. I mean, we're not supposed to say Royal Rumble, but there's that kind of match. Any wrestling fan out there knows what that means. But that's it. You fight one match and it's over. There's a level up process as you as a player can earn some different skins and earn some different ways to customize your wrestlers, but that's it. There's no...
Wait a minute. There's only one match? Like you just play one match and then level up and then just go to another match? There's no like progression to a belt or anything like that?
There's no progression modes, there's no championship modes, no story modes, no career modes, nothing.
I mean, I know I'm not a massive wrestling fan like a lot of our listeners are, who grew up with it. But when I think of a wrestling game, I think of, like kind of like a fighting game where like, you go up, you go to Japan and you wrestle somebody from there and then you move on to the next place, whatever. This is just like one match. There's no, what's the drive?
There isn't, unless you're. I put out on the written review on the Game Outsider website, shameless plug, that that if you have a group of players and you want to get an in-house tournament going, that's the only way you're going to enjoy this game. If you play by yourself, there's no online play. Although there's content shared by other players, you can't even access that data. You can just view it. It's so strangely set up that it does not hold your attention for a gamer, even those that are looking for a quick fix, because the fix is too quick.
So this feels like a couch co-op game, or not couch co-op, but a game to play with your buddies sitting on the couch together so you can punch each other in the shoulder after you beat each other in a match.
So, and I do find that kind of nice, Scott, because I think that's something that's really lacking. You and I have talked about that in episodes past, but it still lacks that depth to keep you playing with your buddies in your co-op in a chair there. Because one match you're done, and some of the matches are so strange that when wrestlers come in the ring, the game actually stops to load that wrestler. Now, I'm all for previous gen gameplay. I'm not for previous gen technology, if you know what I mean.
So there's like massive loading that goes on while a new wrestler joins the ring? Especially
in the Royal Rumble type matches, because it starts with 2 wrestlers. And I believe I couldn't remember if it's 1 minute or 2 minutes, but after that set amount of time, when another wrestler comes in, some of the wrestlers came in right away, but some of the other ones, it literally stopped for about 30 seconds for it to load and bring that other wrestler in, which is obviously a major turnoff.
So, I mean, that doesn't sound cool, but I still want to hear about the gameplay. How does the gameplay work in terms of, mechanically speaking? I assume it's more to it than just run up to somebody and press a button to grapple, or like, how does it work?
No, it's basically that, which is one pro to the game, is that it's easy to pick up and play. And right off the bat, when you first play, it gives you a tutorial, how to grapple, how to punch, how to hard punch. how to put a different move on your opponent, how to whip him into the ropes, how to pin him, how to do these things. But the button combinations can get real confusing if you're not locked into it. It's not like an approach to Simon, if you will. Well, if you hit one button and then you hit one button and the next button and so on and so forth. You go through those combinations, and it has to be precise too. It's not the window of that opportunity to push that button is pretty limited. Otherwise, you just button mash and try to get a few punches in and then pin them.
Gotcha. So, I mean, it sounds like, very similar to other wrestling games we've played in the past, at least in the way past. But it sounds like you gotta have a friend in the house to really enjoy what's here. Is that accurate?
You do, and that's what I kind of find the problem with it. I'm all for the retro reboot, Scott. I mean, you and I grew up in the NES generation and was able to enjoy those kind of games. But to have a retro game to be this far behind when it comes to the type of technology that is out there to take advantage of, I think that's a real disappointment.
Do you think the lack of online is because, actually, no, you played this on Xbox, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I was thinking.
No, excuse me. I played on Switch.
Okay, well then I can't ask this question. Do you think the limitations of that online was because of the lack of limitations with Switch Online, or do you think this was the game is that way?
It's hard to say because of the platform I was on. I just found, like I said, I found that it was weird because you could see content, because a lot of the content, if it's genuine to those playing the game on other platforms, recreated WWE identities like SummerSlam arenas, like they recreated IPs of other wrestlers that I recognize from the past, and you're able to view that, just not be able to access it and use them, which I found really, really strange. And the fact that that's where the online stops it felt weird, and in a way that's like, okay, what was the point of that? Okay.
Well, do you recommend people check this one out?
If you want a quick couch co-op and something to kind of throw in a tournament style, but it's going to be one and done. So definitely not something that's going to be an investment, or quite frankly, something to invest in off the bat.
All right, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to stop to talk to us about Action Arcade Wrestling. I'm still kind of intrigued just for the nostalgia throwback, I think, but maybe I'll have to check out yours one of these days.
Well, you bum my Switch. You got a TV. We got a deck. We'll throw it on there. We'll play it once, and then we'll jump into something else pretty quickly.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll catch you next time, all right?
You bet, buddy.
All right. Thank you so much to Rel and Chris. It was good to hear from you guys. Want to remind everybody about our social media outlets. We've got facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. If you'd like to join the community over there, lots of good conversations. Andrew Angiel, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, is our newest member over there. Also over on Discord, we've got a community live and thriving over there. You can find that in the link to this, let me rephrase that. You can find the link to that in the show notes for this very episode. And also, we'd love it if you drop us a review wherever you listen to the episode. It helps us get the word out there. And also, please check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com. There you'll find all of our episodes as well as written content, including Alyssa's review of Martha is Dead, which is officially up on the site for your reading pleasure. And you'll hear her talk about that game next week. In the meantime, let's talk about our From the Outside In topic. So Zach couldn't be with us this week, and neither CB nor I picked up Elden Ring, and we're definitely in the minority. You'll notice we did not talk about that game. Zach actually made us promise that we would not talk about Elden Ring until he returned, because it's a game that he's very excited about. But it seems that everyone is talking about that game. And needless to say, we're both suffering from a bit of fear of missing out. There have been tons of perfect scores for this one, but the genre just simply isn't for us, or at least for me. I guess I can't speak for CB. Are you a Soulsborne guy?
It's not my preferred. I've dabbled. I love Sekiro.
Okay, all right. Well, this got me thinking, because I've been very close to pulling the trigger just to see what everybody is talking about. And if it weren't for Horizon Forbidden West, I probably would have considered it. So we decided to ask our listeners how they feel when it comes to FOMO, and whether or not it would convince them to go out of their comfort zone and try a genre that they otherwise dislike. So here are their responses, and we'll have our own as well, kind of peppered in throughout there. You know what? I'm just gonna ask you: Are you in the same boat as me, CB, with Elden Ring? Are you like wanting to find out what it's about?
But well, I already have it in my my online cart on my Xbox. Okay. I just haven't pulled the trigger and actually bought it yet, just because it did get backburnered for me because we did promise Zach that we would talk about it with him.
Backburnered. You backburner a game by putting it off for a week? That cracks me up.
Yeah. I mean, I got things, man. I got things to do.
Right.
But yeah, I guess every now and then I do suffer a little bit from the FOMO. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there are games out there that I'm like, I've bought and played for like 30, 40 minutes, be like, yeet.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's just really difficult, man, because I saw like a board of scores, 10 out of 10s from like something like 30 publications that said that, and others have said this is a perfect game. It's the best game not only I've played this year, but the best game I've played ever. And, I hate that feeling of, for me, the fear of missing out isn't so much the fear of missing out of the opportunity to play it. For me, the fear of missing out is the fear of missing out of having the enjoyable experience that everybody is having. Because I've tried Bloodborne, and I kind of get it, but I just don't have the patience for it. And I think this is my biggest, issue of FOMO I have is I want to like this kind of game because it sounds amazing. It sounds like something that would really scratch that itch for me, that hoorah, I did it moment that you just don't get in games anymore because you just keep, you a lot of times can just beat a boss the first try or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love complex games like this, especially something that does challenge you, because I do feel that I know you and I have talked about this off air before, but I feel as we progress further and further into like these super hyper realistic worlds, that they're becoming too easy. Yeah. Because you put something like Captain Skyhawk from the NES in front of a 12-year-old.
Oh yeah, they'll die in 10 seconds.
And just watch them smash their face into a wall at how difficult that game can be. Or just like the original Battletoads or the original Ninja Gaiden.
Right.
Like those games are like world-renowned loved.
But I would also say that those games are unrefined. You know what I mean? That was when we were still figuring it out. Like the people that sit down and play Battletoads still to this day are very few and far between.
True. But you know what I mean? They are still
the ones that are still beloved by the masses are the Marios and the puzzle games and stuff like that.
But you run into the issue of how often do you come across somebody that actually has it?
Right. I mean, it's physical media is hard to come by. Yeah.
It's not as accessible. Mm-hmm. And I do feel that you look at like when you see nowadays like how many people are getting into that like upper tier of like playing games, like they're really, really good at something.
Right.
Whereas you look at some of the older stuff and it's not as common.
Right. But I also don't think that a game has to be difficult to be fun.
Oh, no. I mean, you look at Firewatch. I love that game to death. It's super enjoyable. Is it hard? Hell no.
Yeah. We're getting off track a little bit with the topic here, so let's kind of lean back into the FOMO side of things here and go into some community comments, and we can kind of respond as we go. Because I asked the community, how do they feel about it? How do you deal with the fear of missing out? Do you give in, or are you stronger than I am and are able to fight things off and just kind of take your time? Because I mean, let's face it, you wait 3 months, the game's going to be at least $20 cheaper, right?
Hopefully.
I saw Fallen New Order today on sale on Xbox for $10. Like,
true,
I mean, that 2 years ago.
2 years, 2 years removed from that.
But it's just, it's one of those situations where in 2 years we're going to look back and say, hey, Elden Ring is $10 now. Like, you could get Bloodborne for like $8 now. It was a game. It was a PlayStation game at one point, or PlayStation Plus game.
Okay, anything outside of the Nintendo realm, because those never go on sale.
Right, exactly.
But yeah,
Right, yeah.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. So it's but there's something about being in the moment with everybody else, because from what I've read, and I've followed our Discord, we've got a Discord channel dedicated to Elden Ring pretty closely, and just watching everybody go back and forth, it reminds me of those playground moments, where you were sharing codes with your friends at recess, or I specifically remember my buddy trying to tell me where a secret block in Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers, was. And he literally drew me a map and said, you got to jump here. There's an invisible block there. You jump on that, and there's another invisible block up there. And then it'll get you to this. It'll take you to the vine and take you to this world. And going home and like following his instructions and actually doing it was such a mind-blowing experience for me as a kid. And I feel like games like Elden Ring are doing that in the modern era, where if you're able to stay off the internet, well, I mean, stay off of like, a FAQ or a cheat sheet or strategy guide, and just share those moments with friends. That's the appeal of these games, right? Is having those moments and seeing the conversations that people are having using a language that I don't understand. I want to be part of that. I want to be in that fun. It's so sad that the game that I'm still struggling to get through right now, mostly due to lack of time, Horizon, feels like old news now, because it came out a week before Elden Ring, and Elden Ring is just all that anybody's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like it's already, unfortunately, past its prime.
Yeah, which is so crazy.
And for me, like that's where like the FOMO like thing really drives at me, is because you already know that I have a very bad habit of just buying a game and never getting around to it. Shut up. Meanwhile, I'm like looking right here next to me, and there's like 4 brand new unopened Xbox games.
Right.
But yeah, like I do miss that about like growing up. Was it seemed that releases were spread further out. Now we're like this week alone, we listed off another 12, 13, 14 games,
and several of them I would like to try.
Yeah,
some of them I don't have to pay any extra money for because they're on Game Pass.
But and you still don't feel like you can get to them because there's always the new big flashy.
Yep, always something new.
Yeah, like we're just being pounded with so much new, like so many new opportunities, especially in the gaming world.
It's such a first world problem, isn't it?
It really is. But I mean, to think that like all the time we put all the new releases for PlayStation, PC, Switch, and Xbox on here. Like, but those are like just the highlight ones. Those aren't even like the minor releases.
Right. Mobile
and then on
releases.
Top of that, you also have like mobile releases, PC releases, and then like on the rare occasion that we put like Quest releases, there's Quest games coming out all the time, Vive games coming out all the time. Like there's so much, and like FOMO really does start to hit hard over the fact that like there's so much coming out that we all want to try, we all want to do. But unless like you have the time to commit to it, so many things just pass by, and then you wind up with games like in your backlog that you're like, oh my god, I forgot that completely came out like a year ago.
How many games have you purchased that like I'm talking like for current generation at the time when you bought it that you never even cracked the seal or saw the title screen on? I feel like I have 20 a year. Now, granted, they're not all like $60 titles, but you know what I mean?
So I looked this up because I do have I have a collection app, and you can put sealed, and then like the moment you break the seal on it, I have 86 unopened PlayStation 4 games. I have another 55 unopened Switch games.
Oh my god, dude.
And then I have about 22 unopened Xbox games.
See, this is why we're friends, because like if we ever decide to not do this show and I can just play for fun, like just straight for fun, I will never have to buy a game again because I can just go borrow something out of your collection and I'll be set.
But that's also like you already know what I'm trying to achieve with my collection.
Right. But you also
So-
want them played. You don't want them just sitting there collecting dust
Yes.
and looking pretty.
Yeah, and at least with like the newer generation stuff, I can keep it sealed to remind me like, hey, I haven't played this yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just go and grab like an unopened game and just like, boop,
Yeah.
okay, I've got a brand new game to play.
But when it comes to FOMO, sometimes it's not even the fear of missing out of actually playing the game. It's a fear of missing out on the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well-
Like, I just want to be part of that conversation, which is such a weird, childish thing to me in my head that I just can't break.
But that's part of gaming culture.
Yeah.
Is we're all looking to be included. Like we don't want to miss out on something. And
Mhm.
with as fast as these releases are coming, like I can go talk to somebody at a game store about Horizon,
Mhm.
and you already feel like just initiating that conversation sometimes that they're gonna look down on you, be like, that was a couple weeks, bro.
Yeah, right?
You're still playing that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, it's a big game. It was fun. Like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Like, big one for me. Because that game was so stupidly huge and long.
Yep.
That, like, when you finally finish that game, and you looked up from your TV and you're like, oh, I finished Red Dead 2. And everybody around you's like, bro, like, did you know like 120 games have come out since that game released?
Yeah, some of us, have full-time jobs and relationships and, D&D nights and stuff like that.
Trust me, man, 2 kids, a wife, full-time job,
Yeah.
and D&D nights, but I have abilities.
Yeah.
Special abilities.
I don't want to talk about your time and your lack of sleep, but let's get into some comments. First comment came from Facebook. Mark Willis said, I want to try Elden Ring because of the hype, but I won't because hype is short for hyperbole. I thought that was kind of a...
It's very on the nose. I like it.
And here's the thing, is it's easy for someone like me to say something like that because I'm not playing it. It almost sounds like if I were to say that, I would be like deflecting, like I'm too cool for school because I'm not playing it. Like someone that can't afford 2 consoles saying that their console is superior because they don't have the other one. My console's better because I own it and I don't own the other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a little dangerous territory, but it's really hard to not look at the hype for this game as hyperbole.
Okay, yeah. Since you do say that, like, look at the hype around the Switch OLED. I still don't even have one.
I do.
I know, but there was the hype around the Switch Lite.
That's true.
Pass that up. So, I guess FOMO is only. I guess I can only put it on certain things.
Yeah, we have this me first mentality in this country, or maybe just in this culture in general.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a U.S. culture centric thing.
Yeah, it does feel like a U.S. thing for sure.
Like we're just a virus we consume.
Yeah.
Calvin Meyer. I've never liked RPGs because of Final Fantasy, but then years ago, a guy at GameStop told me how awesome Morrowind was, so I took the plunge and never looked back.
Okay.
And see, I can completely relate with this. I loved Morrowind. Everybody told me Oblivion was amazing. I've never really. I played, I think, a couple hours into Oblivion, and I was like, no, not for me.
I was the same way. Skyrim clicked, but Oblivion did not click for me.
Skyrim's on a whole other level, man.
Mm-hmm.
All them Dargans.
David Carpenter says, I've never really liked or been particularly good at Souls games. Despite the hype and my brother absolutely raving about it, I just have no interest. With the limited gaming time I have always these days, I'm not going to waste it butting my head up against the wall and getting frustrated. I'm much happier making my way through small chunks of Horizon Forbidden West, which I'm really enjoying so far. There's no rush to see the end, so I'm just taking my time and slowly exploring all across the massive map, getting distracted by side quests and getting my ass handed to me by machines I'm not ready to take on yet. Boy, that's just like me in a nutshell right there. I think he just pretty much said where I'm at. I still do feel like I'm missing out a little bit, though. I want to see what everybody's talking about, and I keep waiting for that game.
Big kid.
I am a big kid. Here's something else, too, to think about is with the fear of missing out, juggling too many games can be a problem. I went, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days before I got back to jumping back into Horizon, and the controls are so complicated in that freaking game sometimes that, I mean, with all the systems and everything that's going on, I have to focus on one game, especially if like the jump button is on a completely different button on another game. You know what I mean? I think Bill Gardner was talking about between this and what's the one you're playing? Dying Light 2 and Elden Ring. The jump button is on a different button for all 3 games, I think.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it is.
Which is crazy. But
see, you just need to unlock your inner ADHD.
Yeah.
And just be like, jump from game to game.
I can't.
Actually, here's actually my biggest problem with FOMO. I jump from game to game and then completely abandon games that I absolutely love and adore and never finish them.
Yep.
Because guess what? Far Cry 6 still ain't done.
Dude, I didn't finish Far Cry 6 either.
Yeah.
I paid full price for that game.
Yeah, which is sad because Far Cry 6 is a phenomenal game.
Yeah. I forgot about that until you just said that.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
Like I almost want to go back and finish Far Cry 6 before I go back into Dying Light 2 again. But then I know, like, I've got Elden Ring, like, waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
And, like...
I mean, you could just not buy Elden Ring.
But I can't. Because things.
That's the real problem.
Yeah. Sean Coates says, for me, you want to try to entice me into a genre I either don't like or tend to shy away from. It's always given to me with an IP that I love. I don't like Souls games, but throw a Star Wars layer on top of it and I'll play it and I might end up loving it. Yeah, Fallen Order right there.
Yep.
I also was not one for roguelikes, but throw Far Cry into the mix and I'll give it a try. That's what the villain DLC from Far Cry 6 is, by the way, which really makes me want to play that more. Back in the 90s, I fell in love with first-person shooters thanks to James Bond. I once played a turn-based RPG because it had Mario. Basically, I'm like a dog who will take my medicine only if it's in a piece of cheese.
That's a really great analogy.
Yeah. I mean, you slap some happiness onto anything, people are going to chase it.
That was why I was hoping that Mario was going to get me into the XCOM franchise, and I tried the Mario Rabbids crossover, and yeah,
no.
I'm just terrible at those games, man.
But see, that's the problem is Mario with an XCOM idea, great. The moment you threw Rabbids in, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's just got to be that perfect blend.
Yeah. Brandon Smith on Facebook also said, so many people having FOMO makes me want to have FOMO. I have FOMO. I just threw that in there because I thought it was funny.
The fear of missing out,
Yeah, right. I want to have FOMO. Good stuff.
Yeah, we all have a little bit. Thomas Bax. So moving over to Discord, Thomas Bax. I've never played a Souls game. I have seen people play a Souls game. I will never play a Souls game.
Yeah. Needless to say, Thomas does not have the fear of missing out on Souls games.
No. And I guess I know you aren't a Souls person.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I like to give all genres a fair shake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a pinball guy.
Right.
But I absolutely love that Star Wars Pinball VR game.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess it's just finding that right point on the slider.
Well, and I know we keep talking
yes.
about Elden Ring. And I keep hoping that there's going to be a game that is going to get me into the genre. You know what I mean? Where like Bloodborne, or not Bloodborne. I tried Bloodborne because everyone said that's the one I should start with. And I got 2 or 3 bosses in, and I just got frustrated and by not progressing. I was just beating my head against the wall, like someone above said. So part of me just thinks, well, maybe Elden Ring is the one because everyone's saying it's the most accessible and it has a tutorial and actually teaches you some of the stuff instead of just throwing you in there. And then I hear other people say, yeah, it's a Souls game, man. Like, it's straight up, it's good.
But for certain people like us, I guess a Souls game to them, it's just another Souls game.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start adding in those elements, like a tutorial for people,
mm-hmm.
It feels like this game is really geared towards people who've wanted to get into Souls games, but weren't like, it's so daunting because all I've ever heard is Souls games are going to kick my teeth in repeatedly.
Right.
Maybe they just need to blend Souls games and pinball for you.
How is that going to work?
You're just going to go around hacking a skeleton. You're going to kill the skeleton, and then a pinball table pops up, and you're like, "Ooh, play a quick round."
Ethan Langford says, hype for a genre I don't play works because I think maybe it's my in to finally enjoying them. But hype for something new in a genre I like makes me skeptical for some reason. So yeah, the first part of what Ethan said, backs up what I just said. Hopefully it's my into that genre. But hype for something new in a genre I like makes me skeptical. That's interesting.
So basically when, like, what was it last year? The year of the grappling hook?
Oh, grappling hook.
Throwing in a grappling hook into everything. Everybody's like, well, is it going to work? I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I think I know what he means. Like whenever, a new roguelike comes out, for me, it probably was Hades was the example. I could not wait to play Hades because everyone was just talking about what an awesome game that was, and I can't tell you why that game didn't click. I wonder if it's the reverse FOMO. You know what I mean? Like I wanted it to be. I wanted to enjoy it as much as I had the expectations set too high.
See, I love Hades.
I know, and so did Zach. And it seems like a game that I should just absolutely adore, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why. It's kind of crazy.
It's not 2D side scrolling.
No, that's not the issue because I played Children of Morta. I played Undermine, Moonlighter. None of those were 2D side scrolling.
It's because Moonlighter was just Zelda.
Yeah,
Zelda with a shop.
It's great. So good.
All right. David Newman. I generally don't buy into hype at launch unless there's something interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I hadn't been interested in a genre previously. I got Sekiro a couple years ago because the combat style looked cool. I bought Elden Ring because the world fascinated me. If there wasn't anything interesting to me in the trailers or gameplay, I'll wait until hearing what other people have to say about it and then waiting for a sale. I've got plenty of games to keep me company in the meantime. But see, so we can definitely tell David doesn't suffer from FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
So just can back burner and have other things ready.
Yeah, I mean, and I wish I could somehow get past that. But
again,
for me, it's
a giant kid.
I am a giant kid, and part of it might be a psychological thing from being a kid because I didn't get to play a lot of these games when they first came out. I had to wait a lot of times years because I didn't have the income to do it.
And that actually does bring up a really good point because growing up, I did have a Nintendo, but it was you can get one new game every few months.
Right.
Granted, rentals were a thing. So, and I guess that does kind of make sense because growing up with not being able to constantly have that new thing. And now that we're adults,
mm-hmm.
we have adult money.
Yeah.
And we can do those kind of things.
I mean, some of us spend it a little more loosely than others on games.
Shut up. I'll punch you. But, I mean, it does kind of have that, I guess a light switch just kind of clicks and you're like, I can do this. Should I, though?
Right. Yeah. I think I have a little more willpower than you do.
No, I have none. Zero.
Yeah. Not a lot more. I have not a little bit. I have a lot more willpower than you do. Mark Szymanski. When it comes to Souls games, not a chance. I play games to have fun. I played Bloodborne for one level and threw in the towel. I haven't looked back. Non-Souls? Sure. I'll try anything once. I'm looking at you, Wasabi. I don't know what Wasabi means.
Oh, he says he's willing to try anything once. He's looking at you, Wasabi.
As in actual the food? Or the...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize he was actually, I thought it was a game called Wasabi I wasn't familiar with.
You know what? There could be.
It could
probably
be
on Steam.
Shout out to Mark. He finished Rogue Legacy this week. He wanted to try a roguelike, and that's the one he tried, and he beat it in a week. He absolutely loved it.
Dead Cells, bro. Dead Cells.
Yeah, Mark, if you're listening, Dead Cells is another good one. That is a 2D side-scrolling one.
So it's in the same thread as Rogue Legacy, just better.
It's a really good one too.
So I want to kind of back on Mark here a little.
Uh-huh.
He's I play games to have fun, but he doesn't play Souls games. There's this subgroup of people out there called masochists. They like that kind of thing where people just beat on them.
Well, I think the fun in those games, it comes in pockets, and it takes a long time to get there, but because it takes a long time to get there, it feels that much more rewarding when you finally do get it. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I play open world RPGs the way that I do, because I go through all of this stuff that's not super fun, like going around and collecting everything and doing all the side quests and uncovering every part of the map and hitting every tower to build myself up so that my character in the game is really strong, and then it feels satisfying to walk over. Whereas in Bloodborne, or not Bloodborne, but Soulsborne games, from what I understand, because I don't play them regularly, there are stats that you build up, but the real the real part of satisfaction comes from actually understanding the game's mechanics and utilizing them correctly by learning and dying and repeating. And it takes so long to get to a point where you can beat a boss, and when you do, it feels so satisfying because you did it, not because you grinded for some stats. Right?
Understandable.
Yeah. Understandable.
Now I'm going to hit you.
It's been a while.
I know it has. All right, move along. Fierce. Yeah, I must entertain the curiosity. I don't mind finding it's not my speed, but at least I got a taste. My defense, however, is that I'm an older gamer. I was there in the beginning. I have a few memories about games that weren't for me, but there wasn't the options there are today. We played what was there. And yes.
Is it weird I heard that in Bane's voice while he was saying that?
I was there.
That's what I heard.
So, and again, like, it feels weird to actually say that to, like, my son. Like, I was there in the beginning. Like, I remember before the internet was in a house.
Right.
Like, back in the day when we had to imagine the blocks were dragons.
Oh man, adventure.
Yeah. Okay. It does feel weird. Like, side tangent, kids. We do that here.
Yeah.
It does feel weird to, like, explain to kids, though, when they see things like an Atari game or NES game, like this is what we had. Like, we had to use our imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
We had the fear of missing out because when those new games did come out and you heard people talking about it, they're like, bro, have you seen Contra? It's the most amazing looking thing to date.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess, like, for me, like, that's my FOMO, is like being there on the cusp of seeing something brand new and exciting.
Yeah.
Like,
do you know how many times I stared at a Super Nintendo in the Kmart kiosk and thought that Mario, like, fading, like the level fading before you started into this pixelated mess was the most gorgeous thing I had ever seen? I just could not. Games are never going to look better than this. Like, that's.
Look at me with VR, man.
Yeah.
Like, the moment that, because I played the crappy VR
mm-hmm.
in the arcades growing up.
Oh,
so
man, I remember, like,
like,
ones at the state fair that were, like, had this whole huge apparatus that you had to stand in, like, a ring. I remember those.
But, like, when the Quest came out, like, I was there day one because there was no way I was missing out on that.
Right.
Like, I had FOMO so bad with the Quest that, like, I was ready to camp out to make sure that I was going to be one of the first ones to slap that thing on my head so somebody could be like, bro, mind blown.
Yeah. I have to admit, I've camped out for stuff before, too. I camped out for the Wii. We've talked about that before.
Camped out for a GameCube.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, the GameCube was so exciting when it first released.
I camped out for my Xbox One.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't camp out, but I was definitely early in line for the Switch. If you remember, that's how I got my big Zelda Breath of the Wild Master Sword one, yeah.
Yeah.
How lucky was I to get that, by the way? Holy cow.
Yeah.
I just happened, like, we got one here. You want it? Yeah. It's awesome. Alan Sheck says, hype after it releases, maybe. Probably not full price if it's a genre I don't like, but if it gets cheap enough, I'd check it out. Hype before it releases? Heck no. I usually it usually just pushes me further away from something, and often I'm vindicated when it actually releases and the hype train crashes. See Cyberpunk 2077.
See Avengers.
Avengers is another good one. Dude, I'm telling you, if you saw what we saw when that game first released, we were like, all right, yeah, it looked really good. It looked awesome.
Watch Dogs.
Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah.
Like that's the problem is like the vertical slice that they build for like E3 to like, oh, these are our games. Like, I'm like, bro, I know that's not what's coming.
Yeah.
Like, you just polished the turd. All right. Kevin Honigford. Being honest, this one almost got me. The hype was almost max level. Unfortunately, however, all this type of thing does for me is deepen the sadness that I do not have the patience or time to enjoy something like this. Bro, you play D&D with us. I really want to experience what all the raving is about. I really do. However, I know that picking up Elden Ring would just be throwing money and time into the garbage. It happens with other genres as well. This situation is what really puts Game Pass over the top for me, though. I was able to experience Mortal Shell and learn that it is still the type of game that just isn't for me without forking out any more cash than what I pay for the service. And I'm grateful for that.
That's a really great way that he put that. It's just, you know, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one that didn't give in, because I was really, really, really close. But Game Pass, like, I feel like, seriously, if I weren't doing this show, I would just live off of Game Pass. Like,
yeah,
there's plenty of stuff
Game
there.
Pass to me is like the really nice kiosks at Walmart. How they used to be, where like you were like, I don't want to go shopping today with my parents, but they drag you along anyways. So you beelined it for the electronics section and just like, I want to play full games while I'm here.
Yeah.
Screw the other kids that are trying to get in line. Like
that thing needed a place to put a quarter, to slap your quarter up on the table, like in arcades.
It really did.
Like there was a line for those things often. So, all right, we got one more comment to share. Although Zach couldn't be here, he is here in spirit. He did send us a comment for this. So he writes, Zach Parkerson, senior editor, live from the crime scene. And he says, FOMO is real and ever present today. Look at how movies are advertised. See it before it's spoiled. Buy your tickets before they sell out. It's become a marketing tactic and it sucks. It's led to our current era of hyperbole where we do the marketing for the games. I admit I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Listeners may remember my ridiculous claims when Spider-Man or Fallen Order came out and I said they were the best games ever. LOL. What a dummy. But I've come out the other side with a lesson that you can't really trust that opening week hype. People get excited and they want to love something the most or the first. Everything is the best ever or the worst ever. Elden Ring in particular has a bunch of perfect score reviews from critics that admit they're still in the middle of it. No duh, your hype levels are at their max when you're in the midst of adventuring. Anyway, back to moving. Praise be to Yoko Taro. He makes some really good points, and man, yeah. I love how Zach writes. He just writes so eloquently, better than I speak.
He used good words.
He did use good words.
I agree with him entirely, though. Like we were talking at the top of the topic, that it feels like it's very much a U.S. problem.
Yeah, and
he kind of hits the nail on the head. Like it's us doing the marketing. Like we're building the hype for this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, if you don't do this, it's going to be spoiled for you.
Yeah,
someone's going to ruin this for you. You won't be surprised.
It's sad that that's a marketing thing. Like I'm not going to wait for home release because there's no way I'm going to make it 6 months without somebody telling. You can't even like. I swear that some of these filmmakers are actually encouraging places to put things in their headlines nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we're kind of guilty of it here too, over the fact that we dance around certain things to make sure not to ruin it for others.
Some of us do it better than others.
Shut up. I have not spoiled anything for you, sir, in recent games. But
sure.
Shut up. Be quiet. No one's talking to you.
Yes, you are.
No. You just hear things. But yeah, it is very sad though that we've built the hype train and now we all ride it.
Yep, pretty much.
And unfortunately, the only way to get off it is we all just have to learn to shut our mouths sometimes.
And that's, asking Americans to shut their mouths with social media in existence, that is not happening, man. Not happening.
Yeah, that's why you just spoil it for me, I'm going to punch you.
Batman comes out this week. And part of me, has to go see it on opening weekend just because I don't want someone to ruin it for me. It sucks that
I don't want to see a sparkly Batman.
Shut up. Robert Pattinson is so much more than Twilight, and you know it.
I know he is, but
You know it. Anyway, Zach, thanks for writing in, man. Good to hear from you. Hope that the move is going well. We look forward to having you back next week. And speaking of next week's topic is going to be community questions because it will be the first episode of the month that we record. Technically, this was the first of the month.
Spicy.
We were going to record yesterday, the last day of the month, and things didn't work out. So we're here tonight. But hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. CB, do you have any parting words before we get out of here?
Unfortunately, I'm still just riding the shameless train, man.
The shameless train?
Yep. Because I'm loving how much of a train wreck that show is.
It's nuts. I actually did not finish the last season, so maybe I'll go back and start the last season because the last season I just did not enjoy. I really didn't. I gave up about halfway through, so maybe I should go back, but it just wasn't the same. But you know what's really sad, CV, is like I've got all these new shows that I should be watching. I haven't watched Peacemaker. I want to watch Tales from the Loop. I want to watch all this, and I just went back to started How I Met Your Mother again because it's comfort
I'm
food.
sad because one of the shows I was looking forward to the most, Nate finished it before me.
Oh yeah,
Righteous Gemstones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see that. I just found out today that Scream, the new Scream movie, is out on digital now.
Is it really? I really would like to see that.
And I'm a horror fanatic, man. Like,
let me know. Let me know.
FOMO
if you purchased
was
that one.
real for me for that one.
Yeah. Let me know.
Oh, it's going to be watched tonight.
All right. Well, let me know.
So,
I would like to watch that one as well. I do have a recommendation for everybody that's not film or TV, actually. My favorite band, Coheed and Cambria, released the third single off of their upcoming album. Highly recommend it. It is called The Liars Club, and it might be the hookiest song of the three. It's really, really good. Love Coheed and Cambria. I'm actually going to see Coheed and Cambria next week with Kevin, our D&D DM. We're going up to actually meet the band. We paid for the VIP tickets to actually go in like a couple hours early and do a Q&A with the band, and I'm really, really looking forward to doing that. So, Coheed and Cambria.
Is this your first time?
My first time seeing Coheed?
No. Like the whole like meeting them.
No, I've met Claudio and oh my goodness, I'm an awful person. I can't remember the guitarist's name. Travis. I've met both of them at Summerfest. They were doing a signing. I actually have one of my Amory Wars comics signed by both of them. So I've met them in person before.
I should send my LP with you so you can get that signed.
Sure. If you let me have it, that's fine.
No. It's mine. It has to go in my collection.
So yeah, Coheed and Cambria. It is called The Liars Club. It is a very catchy song. And check out the other two as well. They're really good, but it's not my favorite. I like Shoulders better, but it's still really, really good. Well, thanks everybody so much for listening. Would like to remind you that The Gaming Outsider is produced by Nate Lucas, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.